Here's something that might surprise you. Thinking more doesn't mean making better decisions. In fact, it often makes things worse.
That's so true. And yet, most of us do it every single day without even realizing it.
Today we're talking about overthinking, what it is, why it happens, and most importantly, how to stop.
And by the end of this episode, you'll have real tools you can actually use. Not just advice like relax or don't worry so much.
Because that never helps, does it?
Never. Welcome to Listen Up English. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Wilson. If you're new here, every episode we have a real conversation in English, and you pick up useful vocabulary along the way.
Today's topic is something almost everyone struggles with. Overthinking.
And we're going to cover a lot of ground. Why your brain does this, the two most common patterns, and some practical ways to break the cycle.
A few words to watch out for today. We'll be using words like spiral, ruminate, and trigger. Don't worry if you don't know them yet. We'll explain everything as we go.
All right, let's get into it.
So, Wilson, let's start with the basics. What actually is overthinking?
Great question. Overthinking is when you keep thinking about something way too much, going over the same thoughts again and again without reaching any useful conclusion.
It's exhausting, right? Like your brain just won't switch off.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Most people think overthinking means you're being careful or productive. But it's actually the opposite.
Right? Because there's a big difference between thinking something through and just going in circles.
Completely. Productive thinking moves you forward. Overthinking just keeps you stuck.
And it can really affect your mood too. I've noticed that when I overthink, I start to feel anxious, like everything feels bigger and scarier than it actually is.
That's a really common pattern. Anxious thoughts tend to spiral. One worry leads to another, and suddenly you're thinking about something that hasn't even happened yet.
Spiral. I love that word. It really describes it perfectly. Like you start with one small thought and then it just pulls you down.
Exactly, and once you're in that spiral, it's really hard to get out on your own.
So what causes it? Like, why do our brains do this?
Well, the brain is actually trying to protect you. It sees uncertainty as a threat, so it tries to solve every possible problem in advance.
Which sounds helpful in theory.
Right, but the problem is, most of the things we overthink about are things we can't control, so the thinking doesn't actually solve anything.
It just creates more stress.
Exactly. Now, there are two main patterns of overthinking. The first one is ruminating. That's when you keep replaying the past.
Ruminate. So that means like going over something that already happened over and over.
Yes. Like when you say something awkward at a meeting, and then you spend the whole evening replaying it in your head.
Oh, I do this all the time. I'll think, why did I say that? What did they think of me? Should I have said something different?
And none of that thinking changes what happened.
None of it. So that's the first pattern, ruminating about the past. What's the second one?
The second pattern is worrying about the future. This is when you imagine all the things that could go wrong, even when there's no real evidence they will.
So it's like your brain creates these worst-case scenarios.
Exactly. And this kind of thinking has a trigger. Usually it starts when you face a decision or an uncertain situation.
Trigger? So the trigger is the thing that sets off the overthinking?
Right. For some people, the trigger is a big decision. For others, it might be silence. Like if someone doesn't reply to their message, they immediately start to worry.
Oh, that's so relatable. So now we know what overthinking is and why it happens. Let's talk about how to actually stop it.
Okay, So the first step is awareness. You have to notice that you're doing it. Because a lot of the time, we don't even realize we've started to overthink.
Awareness. So just recognizing the pattern when it starts.
Exactly. You might notice your thoughts starting to repeat, or you feel your body getting tense. Those are signals.
And once you're aware of it, then what?
Then you can interrupt the pattern. One simple technique is to journal. Write your thoughts down on paper.
Journal, like keeping a diary?
Yes. And it works because when your thoughts are just in your head, they feel huge and overwhelming. But when you write them down, they become smaller and more manageable.
That's such a good point. I actually tried this once and it really helped. You look at what you wrote and think, is this actually as bad as I thought?
Exactly. Another technique is to focus on what you can control. Ask yourself, is there anything I can actually do about this right now?
Focus. So deliberately directing your attention to something useful.
Right. If there's something you can do it. If there's nothing you can do, then the thinking isn't helping. You have to let it go.
Easier said than done, of course.
Of course, but it gets easier with practice. Another thing that helps is to distract yourself on purpose.
Distract. So like deliberately shift your attention to something else?
Yes. Go for a walk, call a friend, do something with your hands. The goal is to break the cycle before the thoughts get too deep.
I think a lot of people feel guilty about distracting themselves, like they should be dealing with the problem instead.
But if the problem isn't solvable right now, distraction is actually the productive choice.
That's a really helpful way to think about it. So we've talked about awareness, journaling, focusing on what you can control, and distraction. Any other tips?
One more, and this is a big one. Try to change your perspective. Instead of asking, what if this goes wrong? Ask, what's the most realistic outcome here?
Perspective. So stepping back and looking at the situation differently.
Exactly. Overthinking tends to make us focus on the worst possible outcome. But in reality, most things turn out fine.
And I think building good habits around this is really important too. Like, if you journal every day, it becomes easier to process your thoughts before they turn into overthinking.
Absolutely. Building a habit, a regular pattern of behavior, means you don't have to rely on willpower every time.
Habit, a behavior you do regularly, almost automatically.
Right. And the last thing I want to mention is, don't judge yourself for overthinking. It's a very human thing to do.
Yes, so many people feel bad about themselves because they can't just turn off their brain.
But it's not a character flaw, it's just a pattern. And patterns can be changed.
That's such a kind and productive way to think about it. Word number 1, overthink. Overthink. To overthink means to think about something too much. Going over the same thoughts again and again without reaching a useful conclusion. For example, I tend to overthink small decisions, like what to order at a restaurant.
Word number 2, productive. Productive. Productive means achieving useful results, making real progress. For example, instead of just worrying, try to have a productive conversation about the problem.
Word number 3, anxious. Anxious. Anxious means feeling worried or nervous about something uncertain. For example, she felt anxious before her job interview.
Word number 4, pattern. Pattern. A pattern is something that happens repeatedly in a regular way. For example, once you recognize the pattern of overthinking, it is easier to stop it.
Word number 5, spiral. Spiral. To spiral means to get worse in a fast and uncontrolled way. For example, one negative thought led to another, and soon his mood started to spiral.
Word number 6. Ruminate. Ruminate. To ruminate means to keep thinking about something that happened in the past. For example, she spent the whole night ruminating over the argument.
Word number 7. Trigger. Trigger. A trigger is something that causes a reaction or starts a process. For example, uncertainty is a common trigger for overthinking.
Word number 8. Decision. Decision. A decision is a choice you make after thinking about something. For example, making a big decision is often a common trigger for overthinking.
Word number 9. Awareness. Awareness. Awareness means knowing or noticing something. For example, the first step to changing a habit is awareness. You have to notice what you are doing.
Word number 10. Journal. Journal. To journal means to write your thoughts and feelings in a notebook regularly. For example, I journal every morning to clear my mind before the day starts.
Word number 11. Overwhelming. Overwhelming. If something is overwhelming, it feels like too much to deal with. For example, the amount of work felt overwhelming at first, but I took it one step at a time.
Word number 12. Focus. Focus. To focus means to give your attention to one thing. For example, instead of worrying about everything, try to focus on what you can actually control.
Word number 13. Distract. Distract. To distract means to take someone's attention away from something. For example, going for a walk helped distract her from her anxious thoughts.
Word number 14. Perspective. Perspective. Perspective means the way you think about or understand a situation. For example, talking to a friend helped me get a new perspective on the problem.
Word number 15. Realistic. Realistic. Realistic means based on what is actually possible or likely to happen. For example, instead of imagining the worst, try to ask yourself, what is the most realistic outcome?
And word number 16. Habit. Habit. A habit is something you do regularly, often without thinking about it. For example, journaling every night became a habit that helped her manage stress.
Okay, so today we learned that overthinking isn't about being weak. It's just a pattern your brain gets into. And like any pattern, it can be changed.
The key tools: awareness, journaling, focusing on what you can control, and shifting your perspective.
And we picked up 16 great words along the way. Nice work, everyone.
Now, here's our question for you. Think about the last time you caught yourself overthinking. What was it about? Tell us in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
And if this episode helped you, please give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss our next one.
See you next time on Listen Up English.
Bye for now.